Caroline Jones.
Our values, our future is an exciting opportunity to embrace. But the documents are a stark admission that previous programmes, some of which have been initiated by the Welsh Government, have either failed or fallen short. And even the chair of the Ministerial Task Force for the South Wales Valleys says in the initial document this summer, and I quote, "If we are to succeed where other programmes have fallen by the wayside, local communities and local people must be at the heart of the task force's work." Our values, our future highlights a point that I regularly hear from my constituents. On page 9, it says that those consulted at the time said that there aren't enough job opportunities within the reach of Valleys communities. There are too many zero-hour contracts and too much temporary and agency work. Our coal and steel industries have decreased significantly. Manufacturing too is a lack of alternative is not replacing them. As a person who was born and lived for many years in the Rhondda Valley, infrastructure and public transport are such that it is impossible to get from A to B in a reasonable amount of time, and this makes it difficult to work outside of these areas. People having to travel to a city for work, Cardiff, Swansea, it's almost impossible if you don't have a car. Why are we in this situation? I've said in this chamber many times before that the UK and Wales is not a low-tax environment. In Neath Port Talbot, in my region, council tax rises every year, but council services are in decline. For example, collection of refuse has now become fortnightly. VAT increases have further stifled consumption and have made life difficult for small businesses. I receive constant complaints from small businesses concerning business rates within my region and the stifling effect this has on entrepreneurship. It may be that larger or multinational firms who have a tendency to employ agency staff and locate themselves in major cities can survive this environment, but local, homegrown small businesses, like those in the valleys, cannot. And it is these local homegrown small businesses who are most likely to permanently employ local residents. People taken over in business in Bridgend were amazed to see that collection of waste was a separate payment to business rates. Previously, business rates included this service, and now it has become, in their words, another add-on, an expensive one at that, involving several thousands of pounds per annum more than it is on top of their business rates. In response to this situation, the Welsh Government's solution is, bizarrely, to explore even more options to tax people. The discussion about the tourist tax being one of the most recent discussed ideas. Within my region, I have two tourist areas, Gower and Porthcawl, and I'm very concerned about this. That idea is contrary to the views of those who work in the industry, including the CEO of the Celtic Manor Hotel and some in the British Hospitality Association. So at one level, the Welsh Government says that it hears local residents' concerns about work, uncertainty and lack of job opportunities and zero-hour contracts, but then another of its arms smothers the best solutions that we have to these concerns by stifling the entrepreneurship and small business with more tax. The same is also true for business rates. We've discussed that topic before in this chamber and noted that the FSB state that the non-domestic rate system, as it stands, is an unfair and regressive tax that takes no account of a firm's ability to pay. In that debate, not a single Labour backbencher spoke in defence of the Welsh Government. So again, reform of business rates could revive local businesses and entrepreneurship and address the concerns of those people in the valleys. So can we please altogether seize this opportunity? Another method that might help redress the problems of lack of well-paid jobs in the valleys would be to place a statutory duty on local council to promote economic development. And this proposal has been endorsed by the FSB. This policy may be preferable to top-down initiatives, as it would enable those who know their local areas best to have real input into the kind of businesses and jobs that they would like to attract there. In terms of the elements that affect my region, South Wales West, I can say the following. I welcome the proposal in the summer that part of the focus of the hub in Leith will be on digital and industrial development. Wales cannot function on residential developments alone, and the digital economy may be the key to the jobs of the future. However, yes, similarly, tourism and culture development in my area, sites in Bridgend, are welcome. I am certainly happy to hear about the town centre. I will. The town centre development in Leith, but at the same time, I am concerned because sometimes when town centres are regenerated, redeveloped.
Yeah, please, would you wind up, please, now?
Consequential.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Call the Cabinet Secretary for Local Government Public Services to reply to the debate. Alan Davis.
Grateful to you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I'm also grateful to all the members who have taken part in the debate this afternoon. I think the number of members wishing to play a part in the debate and the contributions we've heard demonstrates the importance of the Government bringing forward these debates to enable us to have a conversation here in the National Assembly about the way in which a government is responding to all the challenges facing us. I'm also glad that this hasn't been a debate that we've seen in the past, where members have simply picked up off-the-peg speeches and rehearsed all the challenges facing us. Because the people of the valleys want more than sterile debates about what has been. The people of the valleys want more than politicians who will simply quote statistic after statistic after statistic without fully either understanding those stats or being able to articulate what the future holds as a consequence of facing up to those challenges. All too often, and I think Adam Price explained this very well, what we've seen has been public relations launches with little and no substance and certainly no results and consequences. And I think that's a fair criticism of many of the initiatives we've seen in the past. And I accept that. I would also hope that he'd accept his party's role in one of those as well. But let me say this. We need to ensure that we articulate very serious ambitions and objectives and visions for the future of our communities across the whole of the valleys of South Wales. And that means taking seriously the challenges facing us, not simply making a speech on a Tuesday afternoon and walking away on Tuesday evening, but recognising what those challenges are and recognising how we then address the fundamental parts of the economy and the communities to enable us to overcome those challenges. And what we've seen this afternoon in this debate has been a whole range of different initiatives, of different ideas, of different contributions, all of which want to be able to contribute to that positive vision of the future. I wholly agree with the points that Jenny Rathbone made about housing and the construction industry and the way in which housing can be used in order to deliver both improved standards and quality of living, but also investments in our economy. And the points that Helen David made about a typical Valleys community is absolutely right. When I speak at meetings, I spoke at a meeting with Hugh Ranker in my stake town hall. I think for 3 hours we stood and spoke and debated and discussed with people there. I was speaking as somebody from Tredegar, looking at the valleys from my perspective in Blaenau Gwent and Tredegar, and the perspectives, of course, of somebody living in the Llyfney Valley on my stake are wholly and completely different. And the same debates and discussions we've had have been right across the whole of the valleys, where people have invested time in talking, debating and discussing what they want to see for their communities. And it's been one of the most enriching experiences of my political lifetime, and it's something that I will always value. And what I have learnt from all of those meetings is probably more important to me than all the different texts that I've learnt at other times. Because what we've had is real conversations with people about their homes, their communities, their families, their hopes, their determination to create and recreate the communities for the future. But we also have to be very, very very serious about how we do this, addressing the foundational economy, delivering business support where it's agile and flexible, able to look at the businesses that Heaven David quoted in Caerphilly, and also able then to scale up the support that those businesses require to grow and succeed into the future. In terms of the challenges that Mick Anthony outlined to us, the conversation we had before Christmas in Pontypridd, I think was an example of how I would like to see this Valley's Task Force moving forward, bringing people together, acting as a catalyst, a vision for change, a vision for the future. And it's certainly all the points that you made are points that I would want to reiterate as well. And, you know, Rhiannon, I've taken my children on the Cwmcarn Forest Drive. I wholly agree with the points that you make. Yes, we can meet and discuss issues around this line in particular, but also let's meet and discuss about how your vision about tourism can actually contribute to the whole of the valleys as well. Because one of the things I hope we can do is to bring people together from all parts of this chamber in order to deliver for the future. I am out of time. With the indulgence of a Deputy Presiding Officer.
Briefly, because it's the new year and I feel quite generous. Briefly.
The Valleys strategy, published 12 years ago by another A. Davies, had a price tag of £1 billion a year. When will we have figures from the Cabinet Secretary as to the additional investment that will be attached to this strategy to deliver on the objectives?
The opening speech I made, the opening remarks I made about the Valley's Task Force is about this is shaping the work of the whole of the Welsh Government. So we're seeing contributions. And the point I was going to close on was the points made by Vicky Howells in terms of breadth of ideas from Mountain Ash, the need for our plans to be rooted in sustainability and sustainable jobs. And finally, the points that she made, and I agree very much on the landscape park. It is my good friend and colleague Leslie Griffiths, whose department is leading on that landscape park, and it is her officials who are doing the work on that. The work that's being delivered through the strategic hubs, the meetings that have been discussed elsewhere, have been led by Ken Skates. So there are ministers and ministerial responsibilities delivering on these ambitions right across the whole of government. What we want to move away from, Adam, is the compartmentalisation of the valleys into one department and one quango. We want the whole of government to address these issues, and the work that Mick Anthony described in terms of a Metro course will also be led by the Economy and Transport Secretary. So let me finish by saying this. Adam, you quoted Idris Davis, and we've all read Gwalia Deserta at different times in the past. And that, of course, was a cry of anguish from a community that had been betrayed by a government that didn't care. What I would say to you is this. Let me paraphrase Gwynalf Williams and be absolutely clear. Our valleys will succeed if we choose to enable them to live in the future, and we will make and remake our communities because we are committed to those communities, we are from those communities, we are rooted in those communities, and this is a government that is rooted in the future of those communities, so we will make and remake a future for all of our communities.
Thank you. The proposal is to agree Amendment 1. Does any member object? No. Therefore, Amendment 1 is agreed in accordance with Standing Order 12.